where witches and wolves are the forces of evil. Where good will triumph and all will end happily.
Your granny spoils you. She makes you think you're something special. That red shawl.
But this is no fairy tale. This is where legend ends and survival begins. Where the dreams of childhood hold no promise of a happy ending.
Big eyes you have.
What a great cover! Recently I was for some reason in the mood for werewolf films, probably because I saw someone on my letterboxd watching the Howling movies, and as I watched Ginger Snaps I thought about this cover with a man having a wolf bursting out of his mouth. I was not even sure if this was actually for a movie involving werewolves. I somehow thought it was probably an alternative cover for The Tenderness of Wolves, which is about a German serial killer if I recollect correctly, but by chance I found some videos about this movie, The Company of Wolves, and heard that it was actually a werewolf movie. Nice. The critics and the audience in general seemed to like it quite a bit, but the videos on YouTube were more negative, calling it boring. But the premise sounded pretty good. Based on some short stories, The Company of Wolves tells the stories of several werewolves. With a framing story in the back then current time of 1984, our protagonist is reading some stories and then falls asleep, and in a nightmare she is chased by wolves and is then transported to the past, where her grandma is telling her stories about werewolves. This sounds great, and the Blu-ray was pretty cheap, so I ordered it and gave it a watch. On a lazy Friday night I started it as a double feature with the third Ginger Snaps movie, which was pretty fitting. Directed by Neil Jordan and starring, among others, David Warner and Stephen Rea, it follows a story which is easy to watch and understand, but a bit hard to explain in detail. We basically follow the premise I explained in the beginning, the dreams of a young girl who finds herself in a nightmare in which she hears the stories of a couple of werewolves. So basically a story within a story in which we are told a couple of stories. Some of the stories are also split, and we hear a part of it at one time and the other part later on. Angela Lansbury, who plays the grandma, is telling us the basics about wolves and werewolves in general.
And the wolves are hairy on the inside, and when they bite you, they drag you with them to hell. You've got a lot to learn, child. Never stray from the path, never eat a windfall apple, and never trust a man whose eyebrows meet.
That's good to know. I never trusted anyone with a unibrow. In a bit more than 90 minutes we hear about quite a lot of stories actually. I think it was at least 5, depending on how you count. The stories are rather short and are just stories about dangerous werewolf monsters, for the most part. We don't have a well thought through story with each episode. This is not Tales from the Crypt with a setup and payoff for the most part. The characters are also not well established. It's just one nightmare after another, I would say. And while I usually don't like style over substance in most cases, here I did enjoy it. The visuals, the different kinds of werewolves and ever-changing stories and characters, it's all pretty good. It is a bit uneven in certain regards though. The movie overall has some dreamlike qualities and seems like a dark fairy tale, but the actual violence is rather tame or surreal. For some reason they decided to make the first werewolf transformation pretty bloody though, and it looks fantastic. But nothing else in the movie is as violent or disturbing than this transformation. I mean, the guy is ripping off his skin and grows into a fleshy, bloody, skinless werewolf mess. The other transformations are pretty cool or at least interesting. There are quite a few shots in which it's obvious that we are seeing dogs and not wolves, though. Sometimes they turn into actual wolves, one turns into a skinless monster, there's a girl wolf, and of course the wolf transformation from the cover. The acting is pretty good and fits very well to the movie. The characters have not a lot of time to breathe, and some characters are seen in different roles. David Warner, for example, played the father in the movie's Frame story and the werewolf hunter in one of the stories. Our main character is the daughter in the Frame story, and she also listens to her grandma's stories in The Nightmare. The sets and effects are all very well done, especially for the low budget for which it was produced. I think it was even below $1 million. I'm just not sure anymore if it was below $1 million or below £1 million. But it still makes you wonder why other movies have such high budgets in the first place, even back then. The dreamlike forest with huge mushrooms, the wolves and dogs chasing our lead character through the forest at night, with glowing eyes, the transformation, it's all just great stuff and pretty well shot overall. I was unfortunately pretty tired while watching this movie though, but I just wanted to see how it ended, which is something that really speaks for the movie. I did watch it as a double feature with the third Ginger Snaps movie, as I said before, and while I liked Ginger Snaps, this here showed me how it should be done. This was pretty good and a perfect watch for Halloween, so I might rewatch it later this year. I also have to address the YouTubers which said it was boring, as I really don't understand them. Maybe they were just expecting something different, maybe something more violent, with a bigger body count. Maybe the dark fantasy fairy tale aspect was not for them, but I have to say, I love this kind of shit. I only wish the characters were stronger, but overall this was pretty cool. I'm looking forward to rewatch this someday, and that time I will hopefully not be as tired as I was this time, and I would absolutely recommend this to werewolf movie fans and people who like dark fairy tales. Think of something like Del Toro's dark fantasy movies. This was a treat and offered a lot of variety and werewolf transformations and effects that you will probably have never seen before. In general, there's a lot of surreal imagery, the unique transformations, the wolves with the glowing eyes, the violence. There's for example a decapitation in which the head is thrown against a wall, turns into porcelain and breaks on the wall. The ending is also a fitting conclusion to a nightmare, and I just had an overall good time with it. Unfortunately, the Blu-ray doesn't have any bonus features though, but at least the main menu is looking pretty cool. The Company of Wolves was kind of great and might even get better when rewatching it. And for now I will give it a strong 8 out of 10.
The familiar landscape of childhood.
You have to come out sometime. You can't sulk in there forever.
Where witches and wolves are the forces of evil. Where good will triumph and all will end happily.
Your granny spoils you. She makes you think you're something special. That red shawl.
But this is no fairy tale. This is where legend ends and survival begins. Where the dreams of childhood hold no promise of a happy ending.
Big eyes you have.
The worst kind of wolves are hairy on the inside. And when they bite you, they drag you with them to hell. She ran away!
Did I scare you? I am sorry. killed it, it was a wolf. And then before my very eyes.
Neither child nor adult, wolf nor human. This is the twilight world, which lies between the pages of any fairy tale.
My, what big arms do you have?
To deny it is to kill the child that lives within us all. To enter it is to kill the dreams of childhood.
Jesus, what big teeth you have!
Where did you hear a story like that?
Not a story, but God's honest truth. Granny told me.
The company of wolves. We are all the company we keep, even in our dreams.